Welcome. Today we have Quentin. Do I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's it, Quentin.
All right. Welcome. Where do you come from, Quentin?
Thank you. I'm come from France,
All right.
actually, Eastern
You're,
France.
you're so far the only French person on our interview list, so I hope we will have a lot of viewers from France. If not, a lot of people from the Netherlands and Belgium will love you as well. I am sure of it. So, Quentin, you
Thank you.
can be found online as Garçon de l'Automne. So that means boy of the fall. Now, can you tell us a
That's it.
little bit more about that name?
Well, actually, at first, the project was just called De l'Automne, so a shorter version. I I wanted something to. I wanted a name to be very visual. When you hear the word autumn, you automatically think about the falling leaves and the red and golden forest, etc. So I wanted a name very pictorial, actually. And a bit later, I decided to adopt a longer version, Le Garçon de l'Automne, because I think it's more poetic. It also refers to childhood, and I think it's even more visual. And as I was born in October, it was also a way to claim this project as my own, because I'm getting really proud of it. So it's kind of a narcissistic process, actually.
I hope you will reach a lot of people with it, and maybe a lot of
Thank you.
people in the world will learn a little bit of French that way.
Thank you. I hope
So,
so.
Quentin, as you said, you started as a part of a music program. So you play the guitar, the hurdy-gurdy, the flute. There's a lot of instruments on your personal
Yeah.
profile. So how did you come to play all these instruments?
Well, the first one was guitar, like maybe 10 or 12 years ago. So I was playing guitar because at the beginning I'm a big fan of rock and metal music.
Mhm.
And then I came to the hurdy-gurdy, and with the hurdy-gurdy, I started becoming really interested in folk music and pagan folk, etc. And then I started to learn some other instruments, all just by myself. So I came to flutes, whistles, and dulcimer, and different things like that. But it all started with the gurdy. That was the the first step in the folk music.
Yeah, you started to play the hurdy-gurdy in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So what
Oh,
brought you to that very specific instrument?
I discovered the gurdy in
Okay.
2008,
Ah,
but
you
I
didn't
really
start.
started
Okay.
playing in 2015.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I I discovered the Gurdy with a music video of the folk metal band Helveti. It was the music video of Fire, Wind, and Wisdom. So I think it was like just a couple of months before the release of the Slania album. And so I saw this, I watched this music video where I saw the Gurdy, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I never, I'd never seen nor heard anything like that before. And I was really, uh, yeah, really surprised and interested. So I started looking for information about it. I asked questions to Gerdists that I was meeting in different medieval events, and then I thought that if one day I had the opportunity to learn it and to play the hurdy-gurdy, I would do it. And after my studies in 2015, I looked for a Gurdy teacher, and there was one in my town, which is kind of a miracle, actually.
Yeah, they're pretty rare around everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, true. So I started taking lessons and playing Gertie in 2015.
All right. So you've been now playing the hurdy-gurdy for 5 years. Are
Yeah.
you still? I can imagine you're still very happy that you play it. Are there any of your friends who have picked up other medieval instruments because of you?
Um, Well, not developed that because of me, but I met a lot of people that are
Mhm.
playing Hurdygurdy,
Okay.
and there's well, the Hurdygurdy community on internet is really great community because everyone is helping each other, and it's kind of a big family, and it's really changed many things in my life actually. But I do admit there's one thing that I should mention here. So I am working as a computer scientist.
Hmm.
So it's really far from folk music actually. And we are like 100 in my company, and we are organizing some tiny shows and rehearsals after once a month actually. And one day there was a new woman coming to the company, and she applied to one of these rehearsals, and she came and she told, "Hey, I play something that is called hurdy-gurdy. Is it okay if I
Oh
join?"
wow.
And I was like, "What? Impossible!" I think we're like maybe 7 or 8 to play the hurdy-gurdy in my town, so it was really a big surprise to have another girl is in the same company.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a match made in heaven almost.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have a very fun company there. A very good working culture. Now, you mentioned Iluvaiti as being one of your inspirations to pick up the Gurdy. I noticed from
Yes.
quite a few folk musicians that they take a lot of inspiration from metal and rock, not just folk metal, but in general metal and rock. Why do you think that a combination of rock, metal, and folk works out so good?
Well, I don't really know, but I think there are a lot of historical roots in the metal music, in some kind of metal music. Even in medieval events, you can see a lot of people coming to medieval through metal, actually. And yeah, I think it's metal and all history, etc. It's really intrigued one into another. So yeah, I think a lot of people are folk musicians, but also you can see immediately that they are metalheads at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's because of the historical roots in some of metal music kind.
You also write reviews about these medieval events, these fantasy events. Can you share with us your favorite event?
Well, so far, because I didn't apply it every
Of
event in the
course.
world, of course, but I think so far it's a German festival which is called Piratenabenteuer in Zülpich. Well, actually, it's a pirate event, and last year there were so many great bands like Stormseeker, all the Swedish pirate armada with the Ebanish privateers, Libertalia, Pyrolysis, and the great thing is that every musician can start jams after the night shows. So every night there's a scene with jams, and last year it was completely crazy. We were like 40 on a 5 meter square stage, and there were people from Pyrolysis, Stormseeker, Libertalia, My Kevin Cabana, Yebanish Privateers, and at the end we were like 40 singing Libertalia, the song from Yebanish Privateers, and yeah, that was
Yeah.
completely crazy. Every people just going all together to just play music they like and to jam together. That was really cool.
So, if you've played with Stormseeker, then you also know Patty Gurdy, probably.
Yeah, I know Patty. I also know Fabi, which is the new
Okay,
girdist of
yes.
Stormseeker.
There's also other famous names like Pyrolysis. You've been on stage with them as well, I've heard.
Yes. So one day I recorded a cover of one of their songs, and I put it on my YouTube channel, and they watched the cover, and they just told me, "Hey, if we had the opportunity, we should play it live someday." And as we met at Piratenabenteuer, so I write them a message to say, "Hey, we are going to meet," and they told me, "Okay, bring your Gertie on stage." And well, that's that's what we do. That's what we did actually.
That's
And so I played the song I had covered and two other songs too. So I played three songs on stage with them, and it's probably one of the memories I cherish the most because it was really a great moment. So for 1 year and a half, I was a musician of a troupe of fire jugglers called Eden Nafoa. So I was the musician of the group. So there were we were strolling in the different medieval events, and we were clad in different creatures like fauns, like dragons, etc. And I was the musician, so I played a gurdy while we were strolling, and they were juggling most of the time with fire. And I also played live twice with a French band called Skura.
yeah. Okay.
So we met at a medieval event where I was with Eden Afua. And well, we were getting along very well, and we met many times after that, and they became friends even outside the musical interest. Um, and so we met several times. I recorded some Gertie for their first full length album. And I went on stage twice with them to play Gertie on stage.
All right, that's quite a lot of adventures. So you have been playing with a lot of beautiful acts, beautiful bands. Now, I can imagine there's a lot of other bands out there that you admire, that you would love to play with. Can you give us an example of a band you would love to play with if you could make one wish?
One wish, it would be Faun, I think,
Okay.
because this is Faun's music that totally brought me to pagan folk actually. And when I heard Faun for the first time, I didn't even know such a music could exist, and it changed many things in my life. So that would definitely be Faun. I love everything they've done anyway. Um, but I think I also have to mention Helveti because I went to the
Of
Gertie
course.
because of them, thanks to them. So yeah, Helveti would also
Mhm,
be kind of a dream to play on stage with them one day. But yeah, I think these are the two
mhm,
bands that really got me into pagan folk. So it's these
mhm.
are two very important bands for me.
Now, if there was somebody here next to me who would want to start to play the gurdy, would you have any advice for that person? How to start, find a good gurdy? Uh,
I think the first advice, the first piece of advice would be connect to the Hurdygurdy community on Facebook, and because there are a lot of players from beginners to total masters, and you can just ask a question and everyone will answer and help. About getting the first Gertie, the best piece of advice is to be really careful because you can find some Gerties on internet on Toman website, on
mhm,
Etsy, etc. But these are not good choices actually. So
yeah,
the one of the best piece of advice for the first is to find a Gertie maker, a professional Gertie maker, and yeah, ask for advice to other players. Listen to a lot of music to compare the sound of the different Gerties, and
mhm,
to choose which Gertie you want and which sound you want actually.
mhm. Yeah, I watched one of your videos where you yourself have built a hurdy-gurdy of 60 euros. So
Yes.
I guess that's the best warning to look for a good builder.
Yeah, it's here actually. It's just here because it's a
Whoa.
very nice decoration. It's a very nice decoration, so it's really beautiful. And building it was really great, but that's just a decoration. It's not. Actually, it's not. It's functional.
Mhm.
It can produce sound, but
Oh,
well, that's horrible. You can play anything with that. Oh, there are only 6 keys here. So
oh,
no, definitely you can buy it for a decoration, and it's very beautiful, and I'm happy to have it. But don't play music with it.
all right. I'll make sure to post a link to that video on our channel when this interview goes online. Uh, Now, you've mentioned a few times pagan folk as a genre, as a very important inspiration to you. Now, how much of a pagan are you yourself? Is paganism very important to your identity, or what genre of paganism interests you the most?
Um, well, at first, it's a long story. At first, I got interested in many polytheic religions when I was a child, Greek and Roman history. Then I learned a bit of about Norse gods, about Celtic gods, or Slavic mythology. But actually, I wouldn't refer myself to as a pagan because I don't believe in any kind of gods nor spirits. Actually, I believe in the theory of evolution. I have a scientific background, so
Yes, of course, that
I
plays a
really
very big
believe in
role.
the theory of evolution, and I think there's nothing after death. So no, I don't think in any kind of
Mhm,
god. But actually, I think nature and biodiversity are something way too important to life and living kind to just mess up with. And this is maybe the thing that you can link to the pagan spirit or
mhm,
pagan way of living, or at least the most modern way to deal with it. I'm really amazed by the adaptability of living beings in nature, and I deeply hate the way our society is dealing with nature and animals and treating them as if it was kind of a supply, actually.
mhm,
So yeah, I think that's what we can link to the common pagan way of
mhm.
thinking.
Yeah, I can imagine. A lot of musicians I've heard for the past few days have talked a lot about the importance of nature and linking nature to culture. So I can see that's very important to musicians like yourself. Uh, you don't only make music, you also make poetry. So I've read you have released a book with it.
Yes.
So are the same themes, nature, culture, history, are those also returning in your poetry?
Um, not much, actually, not really. So the first book was published in 2016. So the poems in it are dated from, I think, 2008 to 2015.
Okay.
So just before I started playing Gertie.
Ooh, okay.
So there's nothing much about nature actually in this first book, and poetry is something very very personal. It mostly deals with, at least in the first book, it mostly deals with my lowest lows, about sorrow, griefs, and breaking up, etc. So music comes more naturally. Uh, about music, sometimes I just have a melody popping up in my head, and I learn it on an instrument, and I see what I can do with it. But writing is very more. It's way more personal. I'm writing a second book now, and there are quite a lot of poems referring to nature because it came to my life now. So, but there are also a lot of poems about, as I said, lowest lows and things that are not very optimistic actually, because about poetry, and I know it's the same for many other authors. About poetry, being okay and being happy is not an inspiration actually.
So you mentioned you work as an IT engineer. Now, I can imagine that one day you would prefer to make a full living out of your music and your creativity.
Yes, definitely. I would love to earn a living through music. IT engineering is not a vocation. I like it actually, but it's not the vocation. And working before a computer screen all day of my life is not. It's not my dream actually.
Hmm.
I have a master degree of chemistry, which I never used actually. So apparently, chemistry wasn't a vocation either.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would totally love to earn a living through music, but I know it's really difficult. So I'm happy with what I have.
Mhm.
So I earn a living with a daily job actually, and I can take some spare time to record music. So I'm very happy with that, and I know I'm already lucky to be able to do so. So I'm happy with that. But if it can go further, I would be even happier.
Yeah, that's a very important step, of course, for a lot of musicians. They they do a lot of work. They take this time, and as you say, you're recording, you're preparing an album for your fans. So I can imagine you put a lot of hopes on that. Can you tell a little bit more about your album? Maybe the people watching this will buy it and launch your career as a musician.
So the album is almost finished, actually. The two remaining songs are on the process of recording. The other songs are recorded and mixed. So I recorded and mixed everything by myself here on this room with these microphones. So yeah, it's kind of it was made with available means actually. So
Mhm.
I have to admit it's completely amateur and not really professional. And I learned a lot about recording and mixing process during the this process actually. So I think when all the tracks are recorded, I will just do the mixing all over again. But I'm quite proud actually with it so far. The album will be called Leaves Are Falling. It will feature 16 tracks, and I hope to release it on June maybe, but I think there will be delays due to coronavirus epidemic.
Yes.
Uh, so we'll see. Maybe it will be postponed. But actually, so far I'm very happy with it, and they are very cool guests. So I'm really looking forward to releasing it and to have feedbacks from people.
Well, I'm also looking forward to hearing it. Can you share like a few secrets? Like, is there a nice guest musician that you want to share with us that we maybe can get to know?
Well, actually, I was sure this question was going to pop out. So I asked this guest if he was okay if I just drop his name. So yeah, one of the guests will be, for example, Lorenz from Pyrolysis,
Okay.
and I'm very happy to have him on the album because he is an incredible musician and a really crazy and lovely guy. So yeah, very honored to have him.
Hmm. It's cemented for eternity now. And now people can get to enjoy your
Yes.
friendship online and on CD. Now, we have arrived at our final question. It's the same question I ask most musicians. You've already mentioned that the corona has affected your album because you could not get together with the other guest musicians. Now, what other consequences do you have because of the virus on a personal and business level?
Well, on a personal level, it's getting difficult actually because I live alone with my cat, and it's hard to accept the fact that I won't be able to have any physical, real interaction with another just human being in the next 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's a bit difficult to think of that. Um, and of course it's a very sad moment because people are getting sick and people are dying, and nurses and doctors are working a lot to try to save as many people as possible. So it's a really dark period. So it's kind of difficult to cope with this idea. But actually, so now I have also plenty of time to read, to draw, to play music, to write and record, etc. So things that that I didn't that I haven't done for some months or years, and I'm amazed by the solidarity and enterprises that come out between folk
Yeah.
musicians, like this interview actually, like the folk musicians crisis collective, online recordings and online projects, and the mutual help between musicians, that's really heartwarming. So it also gave me the opportunities to know people, to get to know people, and um, as people have more time to write messages, I started talking with new friends, and it's a cool way to cope with all that.
I'm happy you're finding some joy and some positivity in this difficult period. So I hope some of your positive energy will go to the rest of the audience, to other musicians, and
Thank you.
it's nice to hear that you love what the music community is doing.